was replacing all of the meters in town. Was that one of the options?
Yeah.
Not all of them, isn't that
Not all.
some of them?
No, because a lot of them, half of them have been replaced.
There's just some that aren't new. And don't
Gas
work-
meters, water meters?
Water meters that
Water.
don't work with the system that reads, from the road or just from your phone or the office? How do they read?
There's two, we're on two systems right now, master meter and, beacon, badger meter. And badger meter's read by radio.
Two different
So the
meters.
system can, you can go into the system and see where your water is, who's using it, who has a leak, where there's no flow. When people aren't home, it shows no flow. Or when they have a leak, it shows they have a leak, which is very advantageous, as in less than 48 hours, you know whether you have a leak, not 31 days.
Yes, yes.
And so then our other meters that have not been replaced with these are master meters. And they are radio read once a month. And, unless, you go out and visually read them, which you can do, but then you don't have any alert to go look at them other than, maybe just, but, we don't have the manpower to do that every week to see if somebody has a leak, using leak as an example.
Are they outdated? Would there be advantages to replacing them?
Yeah, they're outdated in that respect, that, they can't be read,
They're extremely expensive to replace.
and they are. One meter's several $100, seems like.
And the warranties that used to be on the meters that they've all run out, so we used to be able to trade meters and they would warranty them, and so it wasn't really a large cost to the town, but now the warranties have all run out on the meters, so the town bears 100% of the cost on the meters. Plus the time it takes to pay an employee to go out and read the meters. Whereas Yvonne can take just a couple of minutes and download them into the system versus a couple of hours going out and hand reading.
Thank you.
Would it also be appropriate to suggest we maybe take $1,200 out of that windfall and give it to the appropriation group, the city appropriation group?
That would be a different,
It wouldn't.
But it could come out of that, Stacy?
could it?
I don't know, I'd have to look at the guidelines to see, but look, I can forward all of you guys, anybody that wants a copy of the guidelines, you can go out and get them. I have some at the county office on my computer, I could forward to the town council. And you guys can decide whether you feel like it fits in there or not.
Well, what I'm getting at, that is appropriated as CARES money, right, this 18,000?
It's ARPA money, it's separate from the COVID money, or the CARES money. The CARES money was less, it's different. The guidelines and stuff are different on each.
Yeah, well, if we can't take it from that, we can appropriate it on our own.
Thank you. How many more of these meters do we have to install?
Oh, I'd say probably 40 or 50 more.
And can that be used for those that live outside the city, that are on the town's water supply?
Oh yeah, they can be used,
Okay.
they can have,
That's part of the plan?
yeah. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter whether, as long as they're on the town's water system, yeah, it will work.
If I understand right, wasn't some of the ones that they started with first that were breaking down or not working, and those were started first, and then we've just kind of been progressing? Wasn't that how we did it?
Yeah, when this, there for a while, we only had maybe, of course it's been years ago, 7 that didn't read. The next month it was 10, and, it was just continual until we got to the point where we had 40 or more that didn't read. Then you have to read them manually, So there's more time consumed. And, and, you know, we kind of, did it on, you know, maybe every other month or every 6 months. Unread it manually.
Okay, so will this initial $18,000 payment cover the remaining meters that we need to purchase? Or will we need,
I
Payment next
think
year.
it'd be pretty close
okay,
without looking. I think it'd be pretty
Would, I'm not sure that that would install them all though, most of them.
Yeah, that's just buying the meter.
okay.
That's true. Wouldn't count for installing them. And a lot of these meter locations, Mayor, right? They're deep.
Yeah.
And they require backhoes, so there's an extra expense. You can't just go change the meter because they're way too deep. And, you can only hold somebody by their ankles so long.
Okay,
I had a question to ask you too, because you said something that I was not aware of. Did I understand it correctly that these radio readable meters are accessible on the internet? Did I get that straight?
The radio read are not.
So didn't you say something about they can be accessed on a computer?
But yes, the others can.
What's that?
The other meters that are not radio read, they're read through frequencies, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
They can be accessed online, so to speak.
So are
With
we
the
talking about two different systems here?
Yes, we
Okay,
have.
I didn't understand that. So one of the systems, are these what you've been kind of putting in place gradually over the last little
Mhm.
while?
As they go out, as our old meters have gone out, and they, you know, we did have a few new ones to replace,
Mhm.
you know, them, but there's no sense in really doing that. So we just opted to go with the whole new meter system, so we're all on one system.
Okay, so again, just to reiterate, make sure I understand, so we've got right now two systems that are, one can be accessed on the internet by anybody theoretically. And I know Tammy's shaking her head. Usually if something can be accessed on the internet, the right people can access it.
Well, with program, right?
The program, yeah,
Program can read it.
the program administrators can read it.
Right.
However, you can set up your own, what they call Eye on Water, and look at your own.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, that's cool, yeah. But the other system is not accessible. Okay, so we've got two systems here in this town.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why I was concerned about the one that can be read on the internet, and contrary to maybe what Tammy understood I was saying, is that anybody with any computer skills can access anything on the internet if it's available there. It doesn't have to be a cyber attacker, it doesn't have to be somebody who's an expert. They can be accessed, and so my question is, well, that's what I would want to know, is to make sure that whatever we could put into place to make sure that there is firewalls, so this cannot be accessed outside of our own system here. And I don't even know if that's possible.
It's a good system,
Yeah,
or we wouldn't have bought it.
yeah, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're safe from outside
Well,
of town.
no.
So it's actually cloud hosted by Badger Meter.
What?
It's cloud hosted by Badger
Badger
Meter,
Meter.
and so they have all of the technology in place to keep the information and stuff safe.
Okay, well, just so everybody knows, anything can be accessed with
Right.
the right skills, and it doesn't
Yeah.
take a great hacker to do that.
But it's their job, it's Badger Meter's job to help mitigate those vulnerabilities, so.
I am in a situation where I get phone calls a lot from people whose water has been turned off because a system like what you're saying has sensed a leak someplace. And is that going to be part and parcel of the system where it can be turned off remotely before a person
No.
is notified?
No, they cannot be turned off remotely. It only alerts us to send somebody out to monitor it, and
Unfortunately, or she could have helped me.
yeah,
Just curious because I
Yeah.
get some very
Yeah.
irate phone calls.
Yes.
yeah.
How do we find out which kind of meter we have at our home, and how do we access that so we can
Okay, several months ago, I put in the statements a little slip of paper that says Ion Water, that you, how you could sign up for Ion Water. So if you got one of those, then you have the Badger meter. If you didn't, then you have Master meter.
And if you threw it away, maybe
And
you
I'm
can call
betting
one later.
you've got Master meter, but I'll go check.
Thank you.
Or they could call you if they've lost the paper, don't know. I was just saying, or they can call her if they're, like, I'm sure I have it, because we have a new meter, but I don't remember that little paper. It might be helpful when she called me just as I caught a leak one time, so.
Do you wanna move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is something that we needed to advertise and allow, in order to allow the expense. So it's a request for a $1,200 donation to a private 501c business. It's not a part of the town, it benefits the town, it's to the prep squad that is working on the emergency management, and we needed to put it on a budget hearing to allow the public to comment on it in order to consider the expense, where it's a private nonprofit business. So I guess if Mayor Cox wants to open up for comment.
Yeah. Has anybody got anything on this?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's a business, it's a non-profit.
It's a nonprofit organization.
That's totally different than a business entity.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna say this, I've been going to the meetings that have been held here.
You need to use the microphone if you would for us, so it records. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I totally support what they're trying to do. I've been coming to all the meetings because here's what's going to happen. Most people may be still in the dark, but we're going to have some serious consequences coming down the pipe in the not near future with the economy, with all kinds of things. We need to do whatever we can to encourage the residents of our little town to get prepared. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is every other day there's something new coming out saying, well, this is what's going to happen, supply chain disruptions and on and on. So I think whatever we can do to support this nonprofit, which is in support of the town, I fully support it and hope all of everybody here on the committee does likewise. $1,200 is nothing. And when we get around to talking about these fees you're having to pay for the lawyer to rewrite the policies and procedures, that's another topic, yeah.
Actually, can I comment as a citizen,
Yes.
not as the town recorder, just as a citizen? So my other hat I wear is I'm Stamp County Auditor. And I don't believe that we should be using taxpayer funding to fund private 501c3s. And this is just me as a citizen. And it's not anything I have against what you guys are trying to do, because what I think you guys are trying to do is extremely important. And I just wanted to use an example. So Stampede County Food Bank, that is a private 501c3 organization. The county can't support the Stampede Pantry, which I think is an important cause. And I support it personally, and our commissioners support it personally, but as far as using taxpayer funding, I don't believe that we should be using taxpayer funding. And also, the Stampede County is really conservative, and they're very responsible with their money. So when I hear making a $1,200 donation to a private nonprofit organization versus a $700 interlocal agreement to support a school resource officer, I'm not sure which one is the better choice.
Stacy, what was the one you said about the $700?
Oh, so the county asked the town to support the school resource officer program in the amount of $700, and nobody wanted to use the $700 towards school resource officer. They didn't want to support the program for $700, but we also want to support the other organization, $1,200. I don't know,
I thought we were gonna readdress that 700. I thought we were getting more information. I didn't remember saying no, but I mean, I understand your point. I'm just wanting to put that, so maybe we remember to talk about that.
yeah, there was comments from the audience that night that they didn't feel like we should make that contribution or enter that agreement
Oh, I see what you're
because
saying.
they felt like that was not expense that was necessary. So, I don't know. Those are just my thoughts as a taxpayer. I don't know.
Karen?
Thank you, Randall. I agree with you on we've got to be careful what we're spending our money on. I'd say $1,200 isn't a lot to a lot of people, but it's probably a lot to our small town. We're talking about Salt Lake, probably not. However, I'd like to bring up that there's a lot of really, I think, important reasons why the prep squad is so important. I keep hearing this, and I don't think that this is a good argument. I don't think we should be making decisions out of fear, but people keep telling me that there have been local governments that have, the people in the local governments have been sued for not preparing the city council. I see that as kind of a threat personally. I don't like that attitude. But what I would say is with everything that happened in COVID, and we're not through it yet, I'd say that it's really, really important. Boil orders aren't even that uncommon right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Manti has had boil orders to boil your water in the last 10 years, more than once. We did a 4-week course, an hour each week for 4 weeks.
2 hours.
Or yes, 2 hours, sorry. 2 hours each week for 4 weeks in a row about the dangers with purifying water. Okay, boiling water helps a lot, but it's nothing even close to what they actually do to purify water. And then even just having something where we're getting people together regularly for food storage and stuff. I mean, look at everything that's happened with COVID, people losing their jobs and stuff. I'd say that this is really important, especially now more than ever, even if it was, all it was getting people together and say, get prepared to lose your job or get prepared to do this. You know, some people look at prepping as the zombie apocalypse or anything, but with what happened in COVID this last year, I'd make a pretty good argument that more people were concerned about the zombie apocalypse last year would have gone a lot better. And even if we're only getting a small part of the population, we've got me and a handful of other people that have gone through a pretty extensive course by Jim Phillips, who's an expert in it from Spring City, on how to purify water. If we're ever in that situation, I'd say that that did a lot more for us than anything we did with the cemetery or water meters or anything else, with all due respect.
But as a committee set up underneath the town council, part of the town, not as a private nonprofit organization. I would agree that it is important and to support it if it's set up the right way as a committee appointed by the council under the town, not a private organization.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like the DARE nonprofit, that's not controlled by the government, right? That's a nonprofit. There's a lot of nonprofits that operate. I can see benefits to having it controlled by this city, but I mean, the quality's there. I encourage any of you guys to come. And I know that Mayor Randall appointed Shane to do this because of his respect and trust for her in this area. So I feel like, you know, she hasn't stopped doing it. If anything, I'd say that the meetings have gotten better since then. Just that she's not working under the city council, I don't see that as being an issue. It's still a nonprofit. She's still got to prove that she's not spending it on anything she shouldn't be.
I'm not saying that she's doing anything wrong, not at all. I'm saying how we're spending taxpayers' money, and if we support one nonprofit organization, where do we stop?
How about
Because we can't even donate to the food bank, which in my mind is a very worthy cause. And so it's supported personally, not with taxpayers' funding. I don't know.
Well, on that, I'd say that that's a good point about taxpayer money. I'd say we draw the line on when it's got people's support. We've got a lot of people here, and quite a few of them are from the prep meeting, and I think that they're here to talk about the value of the prep meeting. And last meeting, we had a lot of people from the prep meeting because we kind of expected to talk about it then too. So I'd say draw the line when the people that are paying the taxpayer money say it's not worth it to the community.
I have just a minute.
Yep.
So, a couple of things. I certainly hope that we can disagree and not be disagreeable. I as well really think that the Burdens have done an outstanding job. I've been to several of their meetings. I have got to participate in some of their meetings. I think she does a fantastic job. But I do have to agree on the nonprofit side of it. A little background on me, I've been on the fire district for 20 years. 8 of them years I was the chairman of the district. We deal with roughly $400,000 a year in that organization. We have had multiple nonprofits approach us to donate. If donations have occurred, they have came out of the wallets of the people on that district board, right? We don't donate to nonprofits. We just don't. It's taxpayer funding. So we don't, and that's being responsible with taxpayer dollars. This is a different circumstance, and when I appreciate what we're doing here, but I've heard multiple times here that $1,200 isn't a lot of money, but we almost had a lynch mob out here when we was trying to raise the water rates here a few months ago. It seems like maybe $1,200 is a little more money than we're thinking. I guess it's just perspective that I have. We've never donated to nonprofits on the district side. This council here, I've seen the food pantry get turned down. I have seen multiple nonprofits get turned down from this very board. So my question to the board would be, if we are going to donate to nonprofits, which ones are we going to donate to? And how do we determine that? I mean, I agree with community support, but you know, Chair-Bound Hunters, we've done a lot with them over the years. That's, if I get support for that, I mean, where do we stop spending taxpayer dollars on nonprofits if we are to start? I appreciate what the Burdens have done. I think they've done a fantastic job. I hope that this is not, I don't want to be disagreeable just because we disagree. I hope we're big enough people to not do that. Because I do think that their work is important. I think from a community standpoint, they've done a fantastic job. But I'm just concerned about where we draw the line with donating taxpayer dollars to nonprofits. If we start that, where does that end, is my question.
I agree that it's important, and what if we go the route of maybe instead of donating, maybe the town says, okay, you guys are allotted $1,200, we'll purchase the supplies you would like with that $1,200, and then the town is purchasing the supplies and they're still the town's property, and then it's not going necessarily to the nonprofit, it's just going towards that funding, towards that program. Maybe that would be an alternate method.
So I'm just gonna stand for a minute. Couple of things that I'm hearing here, and it's a little, well, I'm gonna say part of it is disheartening, but part of it is also confusing. Is it not still taxpayers' dollars, whether it's $1,200 that the town donates to the organization through the town? Or is it different money? Or is it still not $1,200 of the taxpayers' money? My concern, what I'm hearing here, is it's more about control than it is about actual accomplishment. And that concerns me, because to me that is more a question of, as a town we want to be able to control this versus, gosh, we're really excited about what you're doing and what you're accomplishing, and we're grateful that we can support it. I understand what you're saying, and again, as taxpayers, you certainly are entitled to that opinion, and I'm okay with that. I agree with you. It's not a matter of, we can disagree agreeably, I believe that.
Hopefully.
But again, whether it's $1,200 that the town purchases stuff with, or $1,200 that it donates donates to the nonprofit, please keep in mind, you had an attorney who stated that that was an okay thing to do, and to go ahead and do it. And I have documentation here from meeting minutes that states that you guys were 100% fine with doing that. So the fact that it has changed just because it's functioning as a nonprofit does not, that's where it confuses me and does not make sense to me. It's still taxpayers' money either way.
I think
Am I
for me,
not
there would
correct?
be, so as far as the taxpayer money for me, so having ran the fire department at the end of it, so at the end of it, when we expend money, the town still has a fire department because it's the town's equipment that they have bought, they have purchased it, it's an inventory, the town owns this equipment, right? So when we, in my mind, if the town donates to nonprofits, that money is just gone, right?
No.
Absolutely, well, so it's
It's about accountability and transparency.
exactly,
Because when
the accountability part of it, right, is where I come to, and that's where, I mean, I think what you're doing is good, and I don't know, I guess my fear is in 10 years, how does this look? If the town donates $1,200 a year to said nonprofits, not even yours, say we donate to more nonprofits. At the end of them 12 years, the town owns nothing still, right? I mean, the town physically owns nothing, right? You have excellent prep, you have excellent things, but does the town actually physically have anything for that money? Is there any accountability for that money? That's where I come from with what I'm saying here.
Okay, and again,
That's
I'm
where
going
I'm
to
at
say,
with it.
and I understand what you're saying. Again, what I'm hearing is it's more, the concern is more about control than it is about results. And again, if that's something that you guys want to be in charge of, I can tell you that you're welcome to be in charge of it. As a prep squad, we will be more than happy to continue doing what we're doing. We've been able to raise some funds. We'll continue to do that because our concern is about having a town that's ready, a town that's prepared if there is an emergency. Just because whatever it is that's purchased is not physically in the hands or the control of the town does not mean that it isn't for the town. And I can, as a reminder, all of this was given to everybody on the town council in July when I stepped down from the appointment and moved forward as a private citizen to continue to do this. There are specific requirements and guidelines through the federal and state government for the responsibilities of the governing ordinances or governing bodies to have these things prepared. So if you're not comfortable with what we're doing, and if you're not, if there's some level of concern or distrust about the funding and how that's being handled, that's fine. Like I said, I'm more than happy to allow you guys to set up whatever you want so that you are covered yourselves for the responsibility that the governing body is supposed to have for the town. Be my guest. I will continue to do what I'm doing as a private citizen because what's most important to me is results. And that's what I'm trying to do for this town. So, Norm?
You know, there are rules and there's not rules. Some of these rules where we are guided by we can't donate to a nonprofit because it's just not done. So let's not do anything. Let me give you a couple of examples of nonprofit organizations. Has anybody ever heard of the Cajun Navy?
Of what?
The Cajun Navy. Nobody has? Every hurricane that's hit the United States in the last 30 years has received benefit from the Cajun Navy. This was a bunch of good old boys down in Louisiana that got private boats together. And while the government's up there scratching their butts, wondering what to do, the Cajun Navy, they get out there in their boats and they go out there and save people. a nonprofit organization. So we're talking about this local organization. And my experience, anytime you put something in the hands of the government, you're screwed up. And I know we're all good, loving neighbors. But while a committee is sitting there deciding what to do, people are hurting. The nonprofit organization said, here, we're set up. And I say we, and that means you. You're part of it. Everybody in this community is part of it. We can get out there and get it done. We don't talk the talk, we walk the walk. So talking the talk says, we can't give to a nonprofit organization. Davy Crockett, addressing the U.S. Congress, says, you know, they were trying to raise some money for a widow of a colonel or a general or something during the Revolutionary War, and she was bankrupt. A lot of those people went bankrupt during the war. And Davy Crockett says the government has no right to raise money to help that widow. We can all do it out of our pockets. So now, 200 years later, we have a welfare system that's all messed up. They're going to give $500,000 to illegal aliens coming across there with my tax money. That's not benefiting me one bit. I don't have control of those decisions. And so we have a small group of people in Sterling that's worried about helping people in case of emergency. Is any of you aware of what's happened this last summer up in Schofield? Now, Schofield's not too far from us. Are you aware of what's happened in Schofield?
Water problem.
They were out of water. So they had to bring in trucks of sanitary water for people to go down and get sanitary water from. Are you prepared as mayor if a poisoning water system hit this entire county and they have like 10 water trucks? Sterling doesn't get one because they've got like 2 in Ephraim because of the population. Are you prepared to help these people?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, suppose the power went out. And there's a lot of people here in this town that are on oxygen. Are you prepared to help the people that are on oxygen in this town if the power goes out?
I got a generator, yeah.
Oh, come on. Generators require gasoline.
I know.
So are you prepared to help the people in this town if there's a power failure?
If I can, yes.
If you can. We are prepared to do that.
So how are
Who's
you
we?
prepared to?
The group here.
Okay, you
So
got
tell us
gas
how.
stored somewhere?
No,
Then how are you prepared?
I'm prepared where I live.
Well,
I
that's what he's getting
I
at.
can fill every
Everybody's
oxygen
prepared
tank.
as individually, they'd be glad to help
I can fill
everybody
every
else.
oxygen tank in Sterling, but I'm doing that as a private individual. Do I need the government to come down there? Well, we need to seize your power situation because you got all this power over us. No. We're all as a community, brothers and sisters.
Right.
And what we're talking about is helping the group come together and include the government, even if they don't want. We're talking about these water meters. And I'm going to use you as an example, Richard. Are you aware that Cedar Crest has 1 water meter, but you're billing him for 3 bills?
And that's the way it works.
Because now this is government.
This is 3
No.
hookups.
This is government.
He's got 3 hookups up there.
Okay,
So he's getting 3.
but he has 1 meter.
He's got 3.
They go, that 1 meter goes to 3 homes, so to speak.
Even though those homes aren't even in use.
Well, if they can turn their water off, they don't need to pay for the homes
I
that are
asked
being
him if
used,
he
and we
wanted me
mentioned
to
that to
come
them.
up and take it.
Okay, but what I'm saying is because of government oversight, you have the right to dictate another person how they make a living or where they prosper. We're not talking surviving. We want Sterling to prosper and
Well, we do too.
And so when we ask the community to come together to help us get prepared medically, physically, water-wise, health-wise, as a community, we're not asking to donate to the food bank where everybody, I've seen people cheat, having a full pantry, still go down and get food from the food banks. and that's up on their own conscience. What we're talking about here is a community where we can come together and get prepared for something. That if anybody in this room doesn't think that something's coming down the pike, you better go home and get in bed with Easter Bunny, because it's coming. And if we can't come together as a community to help one another in preparedness for something we don't see, you have it. How many people here have to buy car insurance?
Have to what?
Have to buy car insurance. Would you like to not buy car insurance? But it's law that we have to, because if we get in a wreck, that insurance is helping us. So the Sterling Preparation Group is insurance. It's insurance. Sometimes common sense, which is not so common, should rule the day. And we should say, you know, we need some form of private, and I'm not saying government, a private situation where the citizens of the people can overrule it. If we bought a water truck and the city helped us say we want to own the water truck, and Ephraim says we have greater need for your water truck, the government has a way to come down and get your water truck. But if the San Pete community owned it, they wouldn't be able to. Common sense. Common sense. But, like I said, it's not so common anymore.
Thanks, Norm, that was very good.
I'm gonna go with Shane on this. Like you pointed out, we're legally responsible as a city, to provide some disaster preparedness. You guys saw the need for it, which was again why Randall appointed Shane. You agreed on the amount, and I can understand the argument that the town does not own those things. However, I want to bring something else up. Buying supplies, I don't think would actually cover saying that you're preparing. Do you guys really think you're going to find someone better than Shane? I know a lot of you guys haven't been there. I'd encourage you to talk to Tammy or really anybody that's been there. You'd be really hard pressed to find someone that's better than Shane. Shane spent well over 100 hours doing the preparedness fair we have here. Okay, and I got to do some demonstrations there. We got to bring some people in from out of town, show them how to put together 72-hour kits, show them how to do, make a makeshift washing machine, a whole bunch of really cool things. But Shane left us, and part of the reason I've talked to the city council members this, and this is unfortunate, but there's a lot of people that do not trust the city council. And I have tried to talk to those people and get them to come, and I have tried to encourage them, and I have tried to do everything I can. And I don't think that any of you guys are crooked personally, okay? I want you guys to know that out in the open. I don't think any of you guys are bad people. I think everyone that is sitting at this table, and Justin, even though he's not here, is only here for the benefit of the town. And they're only doing what they think is right. But Shane's not going to step in to the position to do the preparedness work for the city for the same reason that I think the people are misguided. And, you know, I think that the water bill thing that you guys brought up, I think that that was a terrible miscommunication. And I could go on that. I don't think you guys are in the wrong, personally. It happens everywhere, and there are reasons for it, but that's why Shane won't do it. So are you really willing to find someone else that's willing to dedicate that much of their time to do this? Because you guys saw a need for it before, and I really don't think that just saying we're gonna spend X amount of dollars on it will cover it. Like, you know, Shane said that she would work with whatever you wanna do and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna have to be more than just a dollar amount, and I don't think you're gonna find someone like Shane. That's just something that I really encourage you to consider.
this spring will mark 20 years that I've been in the insurance industry, and so I have a little bit of inside information on emergencies and when crap hits the fan on a local level. And, you know, back in 2004, 2005, somebody mentioned Hurricane Katrina. It doesn't matter which hurricane, you can put a name on it, they're all about the same. It's just the dollar amount that's different. As far as, you know, taxpayer money going to something like this, well, I don't know how you'd explain the whole FEMA concept. Where does the money from FEMA come from?
From the government.
Okay? Well, the point is maybe where does the money go when FEMA gets it? Because it certainly didn't go to the people that really needed it down in New Orleans.
And Lance,
Okay.
where did the government get it from if it wasn't the taxpayers?
Well, it's the taxpayers' money, but that's maybe the point. I mean, we are local. We're talking about our local community. We're not talking about the federal government funding us, except, you know, apparently there's $18,000 that our wise president has allocated, and we're going to be willing to accept for whatever reasons that we want it, with supposedly no strings attached. But when there really is a need, and we have the opportunity to manage it wisely, and I liked what Zeb said, well, maybe there's some other ways that we can do it, that the town has some control over it. Maybe there's some equipment that they could procure and store it somewhere. Maybe there's extra porta potties that we could use, that we could store until there's a real big need. Because if you're not familiar with what happened at Katrina in New Orleans, they had 60,000 people that had no place to live, and so they went and put them in the Superdome. And you can't flush 60,000 toilets at the same time. And they backed up, and people died because of dysentery. And we're not talking about property loss. We're talking about food and water, clean water, and medical supplies in a town of 300 and 400 something people, that we're so far away from everything else that if the grid goes down or something goes down, how are we going to take care of our own? That's the primary thing that we should be focused on. And I think it's great that we're all willing to help each other, and we can say, well, I'll just help, you know, I've got a generator and he's got a generator, and do we have enough, and rely on that. So if somebody knocks on Ian's door and says, hey, can you help me? If somebody knocks on our door and says, can you help me? And that might last for a little while. Who's going to be FEMA in our town? Who do we send them to say, well, we ran out of water? I'm not giving everything I have. I give a little. I don't think it should be on the citizens. I mean, I know it will be. We'll have to take care of each other. But if it's not taxpayer dollar, which is my dollar and their dollar, you guys just want to control where the dollar goes, but ultimately FEMA doesn't do a very good job, so who comes to the rescue? It's the yellow shirts with the chainsaws, it's the Red Cross, it's the private citizens anyway, and all we're really asking for is a little bit of funding so that we can be prepared, because people are going to come to us anyway. Thank you.
My thought is, with respect to having supplies and whatnot in the control of the town council, in case of an emergency, I was just kind of musing on this, does that mean if some sort of emergency happens, does the town council have to get together and vote on whether or not to disperse the food or whatever else you have in the way of supplies? I don't know the answer, because we don't have policies and procedures just yet. What is the answer to that? I think, at least at this point, what Shane has been offering to do, as well as the prep squad, it'll more than pave the way and make Sterling look like a caring community.
Also, I'd like to, in the spirit of dissent from a different point of view. I understand, Stacy, and some of you about this problem with, well, this is a nonprofit and we're putting taxpayers' money in it, and where does this end? I think that's an irrelevant argument, because we're not talking about some Mickey Mouse thing here. We're talking about preparations to help our community when everything hits the fan. And sooner or later, as I've said, I think everybody is somewhat aware that there's some very serious things brewing on the horizon. We need to be prepared. And you know what, this, like I said, I find this irrelevant whether, well, where does it end? If we give this money to this nonprofit, then some other no, you don't have to look at it there. We're looking at what the purpose of it is and the value of what you're doing. $1,200 to me is nothing compared to some of the other expenses I'm assuming we're going to be talking about. But everything that they've said so far, I agree with that. We have this responsibility as members of this town and the town council to do whatever we can to get us prepared for what's coming. And so I just don't buy this argument about, well, if it's, you know, a nonprofit, where does that end? And I don't buy this argument about, you know, value for the money and storing and all that stuff. That's all good for a major organization, but in this case, this is something totally different. And I hope you'll reconsider this thinking. It has nothing to do with, well, where does this end? To me, that's an irrelevant argument. I hear that all the time when I deal with the Veterans Administration. They say, well, if we give you this exception, then we're going to have to give it to everybody else. Well, they do that basically so they can stop the argument. Not that you're doing that, but I hear this all the time. This is a different type of thing. We're not asking you, you know, to, and like I agree with the others, this to me is far more important than worrying about cleaning up the cemetery or any of these other activities. Far more important. Because if something collapses and we're down here stuck, we're going to have a lot of people that are crying out, because a lot of people are not aware of the serious situation that's coming down the pike. So anyway, that's my point of view. I'd like to pass that on.
I hope that, at least from what you've heard, you know that the people that are involved in the Prep Squad, these are people that come every week and have come every week for a really long time. Regardless of what you decide, we will continue to meet, because that's what's important to us as far as the community goes. I hope that if you choose not to, that's fine. I hope you put something in place. I really do, because it's necessary. But either way, I am proud of the people who have come today to support this. You started a good thing. When you asked me to do this, you started a good thing. And I'm grateful that you got a fire lit under me. And I will continue with it, either way, for the community. But without support, you will need to put something in place yourselves if you don't choose to support this organization just for your own welfare and safety. So, thank you for everybody that has come and has said what they've said. I'm sure you guys don't want to be here forever just listening to us tout how crazy cool we are. But I'll let Karen, whoever it is that wants to speak, please go ahead and speak, and then let's try to be respectful of whatever the council has left for tonight. But thank you all for coming and supporting this. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Do we have some more time? I have a question.
We're getting close to where we're gonna close this meeting.
Okay.
I've saw it already.
Go ahead with your question, though.
My question is, have I heard in all of this that legally, as a town, we are required to have a group?
No preparations, not
Yes.
a group necessarily, but preparations.
To have preparations. Legally, we are required to do that. And have I heard that there is a lawyer for the town that has said, yes?
It was actually our independent auditors that gave the advisement, and they said that it's not recommended, but you can. It just needs to be addressed in a budget hearing.
Okay,
And if you want me to pull up the email, I'm happy to pull up the email and read it word for word.
okay, and maybe we'll, because of lack of time, we'll need to do that another time. I would like to ask, $100 a month, if we do it $100 a month instead of $1,200 all at once, and if we consider how much is that a month for every person in the town. 10 years ago, we lived in another town. Leaders of the town came to me and asked me to do something about making preparations for an emergency. And then, whatever I tried to do, there was no support. I'm not quite sure what they expected me to do, but there just was never any support to make it happen. So when Richard and I moved to Sterling, I went to a leader in the town and said, I think it's really important that we do something to get prepared as a town for an emergency. And this person told me to go talk to his mother because she was interested in making something like that happen. And this was before the Burtons moved to town. When they came to town and I could see they were excited about doing something like this, I was so excited. So now we have this group that just seems to be growing, as if people are seeing, wait, if there is an emergency, we've got a group formed that we can join, that we can get things going in for the sake of our town. We have no hospital. We're so lucky, blessed to have nurses. We don't have a hospital. We don't have a pharmacy. We don't have medical supplies per se. But something wonderful has happened with this group that has formed. As people have been coming and coming, before this, I didn't know very many people in the community. This has afforded me personally an opportunity to get to know more people in the community where I don't feel isolated, where I'm going, yippee, I know more people in the community, and there are people who care about our community coming together where we will be able to help each other in a crisis. The people that come to our weekly meetings bring donations. People in this group are already contributing money-wise, plus being taxpayers. I'm thinking there's got to be some way we could do something to come up with $100 a month. Have a penny parade, a penny drive. It could act up quickly, and I don't want it to be a burden on taxpayers either. But you know, if we don't have taxpayers contribute, if we don't have a Judy, what is it? The
501c3.
Yeah.
the nonprofit group. We've got to have something.
Alright, I'm sorry, I know this is my third time up here. I'm not actually talking about a prep group. Obviously, I'm for us funding it, but I think more important than that, or maybe not so, but we need to be united as a town. Whether or not our town council approves this donation to the prep group, I'm going to support them. I would like to encourage everyone else to. Again, these are good people. They're up here to volunteer their time and to help us. You know, I've already talked to you guys about how hard it's been to get people to show up here. These are good people. Nobody's here making decisions because they think it's going to hurt the town or anything else. I'd like to encourage them to support it, but if they don't, that's fine, and I'm not going to say a word against them outside of this. I'd like to try to encourage it in the future and stuff, but I'm not gonna say anything negative about them, and I would really encourage everyone else not to. Nobody here is making decisions to hurt the town. We're just seeing things from a different perspective, and we need to be united as a town for prepping. If a disaster happens, that's really important too. So, again, I'd like to thank everyone on the town council, and Stacy and Nick and Zeb, everybody that works for our town, for everything they do. And just thank you, and we're lucky to have you guys, and I appreciate it.
And I would say thank you, Keenan, for those words. Thanks to our town council. Thanks to everybody who cares. And apparently, everybody here tonight cares, or they wouldn't be here.
We all care.
We all care.
And we all want everything to work good. It's just, we gotta do it. We gotta do it so we're not gonna get in trouble.
Shana, just exactly what, do you want to, for lack of a better word, buy with this donation?
Well, there's been several things that have been discussed. We have people in our community that have a lot of needs, but we also have a lot of people in the community, period. So there are a variety of things that have been discussed. Tents have been discussed, food has been discussed, water has been discussed, medical supplies have been discussed. These are all things that our community would need in an emergency. These are all the types of things that have been brought up. We've even discussed bullhorns so that we have something that if there's an emergency, we can get a loud message out to people. I mean, we put this out and this has been discussed for months in our groups. People have been putting out ideas and different things like that. I can tell you, and just no offense, Keenan, but I'm going to correct you, I put in over 450 hours on that festival by myself. The rest of the group added hundreds more hours. And not one of us got paid. Not one. We didn't do it for that. But these are things that we discuss, things that we talk about, things that we feel are critical for our community to have if there is an emergency. I know when I worked for a nonprofit organization, people knew that they were going to be donating for a school to be built in Africa, or for education to be given to the school systems, or for people to get training on how to support themselves and their families, things like that. There wasn't line items of, well, how many bricks are you going to buy? How many, screwdrivers are there going to be? How many pieces of paper for the students? They just knew, generally speaking, these were the main things that were going to be happening. So that's kind of what I can give you, is that we have ideas, we have things that we feel like are critical, and we feel are more critical than others. We've kind of tried to put a priority list together. So that's what we're working towards. It's nothing.
You're going to add this to what's already there? Is that that's what your plan was, right?
Yes. And just so you know, that this isn't something that's just affecting us. We have people that are coming here from all over. We have people that consistently come here from Manti. We have people, doesn't mean that all the stuff that we're doing goes to them, because it doesn't. I'm just simply telling you that it's important to people that something like this is happening, because there are concerns, and I think they're legitimate concerns. Did that answer your question, Yvonne?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering if this isn't just donating something to this rather than trying to start something new. This might be something to think about. That might be, we have to have a group. We have to have something in for our town to work on this. If we add to Shane, then we've already got one. We don't have to start over. It's just a thought. That's just a thought I was thinking. But there's also maybe we can do it if we wanted to do open up the budget for this time, and then think of things if the town wants to buy bullhorns or something and add to it and store them, or we can do that down the road. But I think part of this was just because of the confusion at the beginning with the $100 that was talked about, how that got kind of confused on how that was working and how that, and why it evolved to to go lean back onto her nonprofit that she had. So just thoughts.
Just real quick, just wanna make sure I'm clear why we're in the public meeting here. In no way did I think that the Burdens was going to be dishonest or anything like that.
No.
And I absolutely 100% agree that she is amazing, bottom line.
No.
She is absolutely amazing with the group. I've been to some of their meetings, certainly not all of them. And honestly, you're not going to find a better person to run while she's doing that. That certainly is none of
Right.
what my
Right.
comments was. I just
No,
wanna make
no,
sure.
I
we're
understand.
clear on that.
Nothing
Yeah, I'm not-
I understood
This
you
isn't
that way.
personal,
No,
it's
no.
nothing personal, so I just wanna make
So
sure
I
we're
hope
clear on where I'm
everybody
at
else-
with them things, cause it was made to sound like maybe I had,
No.
and that's certainly
No,
not
no,
the
no.
case.
If I said that and I did,
Um,
I made it sound that way, I apologize.
Cause she
No,
is
there no
awesome,
harm, no
and
foul.
I wished I could get like a quarter of the energy she
Oh.
has to the fire department, that would be
I stand
fantastic.
for a tenth.
Just
So anyways, just so I'm clear on that point, I've said all I'm going to say, I just wanna make sure that, I'm a big enough person when people disagree with me, I'm okay with disagreement. But we can be big enough people to disagree and still get along, and that's my own opinion of things as a whole. This isn't personal, so it's not personal, and in no way do I think she doesn't do an amazing job, so.
No, and I didn't take it that way, so.
We're gonna close this meeting, start our regular.
start over.
But, I just wanna say thanks for what you're doing and keep doing it. It'll work out.
Thank you.
Okay. I need a motion to close this meeting.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have we done everything we need to as far as,
Is there a
For
vote
the,
or,
um,
I'm sorry, say that again?
is there a vote or how
Oh,
do,
so that's done in the regular meeting, this is just a
Oh.
public hearing for public comment. So that's an agenda item on the actual agenda,
but as far as the,
public hearing.
Jones and DeMille and that,
Jones and DeMille.
do we have,
No, that one's good.
that was, okay, all right. I just wanted to make,
Yeah,
Clarify.
there was money budgeted for the cemetery as well
Okay.
already, so.
well, in the general plan, correct, okay. I just wanted to make sure, so we didn't close it and still have something to do. Okay, I make a motion, we close public hearing.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
is Justin okay? Or he's not sick or something?
Open your meeting,
Okay,
and then I left you an agenda right there.
I've got glasses on.
Here you go.
I got white with cross. I got purple ones.
Mine are white, look at this.
All set?
You think yours are fancy?
Okay, roll call. Kendall.
Here.
Yvonne.
Here.
Tammy.
Here.
Okay, discussion and approval of changes to the 2021, 2022 FY budget. So now what?
So you just make a motion on whether you guys want to open the budget and accept that expenditure and revenue on the ARPA funding, and then us also with the donations to the prep squad.
So we say, like, I make a motion that we approve opening of the budget to fund the ARPA and the and the prep squad? Like that?
And I would say just do the amount
Do you
for
know?
the donation.
So is it the 18.5 for the
And
ARPA?
it's 18,936.
18,936 for the ARPA and 1,200 for the prep squad, for the nonprofit.
Sorry. There you go, you don't second that.
Does anybody get a second?
So we've got two different motions or just one motion?
One motion.
You can do
One.
it separately if you want. Well, there's already a motion on the table, so
Okay.
if it doesn't get a second, then the motion fails. And then if you wanna try again and make the motion separately.
I think let's do them separately.
So there's already a motion on the table, so if there's not a second, then Randall just needs to recognize that the motion fails, because there wasn't a second to the motion. So,
I would really like to do some more research on this. Prep start. Do you know whether other towns have a committee such as ours?
What do you mean committee such as
Committee.
ours?
You know, like you. Do other towns have this for their emergency calling, or does the town do it and have supplies ready for any emergency that may happen?
I can't tell you what other towns have done. I do know that there are a lot of towns that have what's called a citizens corps, very similar to what I do. Don't know that they're necessarily a nonprofit organization, but they are an organization that are independent of the town council and function for and in behalf of the community, similar to what we're doing.
So you're saying, so you mentioned that you have Manti people come out. Is that because they?
We have people come from Manti, we have people come from Axtel, we have people come from, that's for the classes, there's lots of different classes that they do.
That's,
Yeah, we have a meeting every.
that was my next comment.
Every week we have a meeting and it's
Yeah,
not the
I
same
know.
people, but it's often the same people.
You bet.
Mm-hmm.
And while some of those people don't benefit from what we are doing here, they still came and helped as part of the festival and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So they're donating their time and possibly some money.
Yes.
They come to
Come to
learn.
learn. Mm-hmm.
They come to learn.
Yeah, okay. But I'm just wondering what other towns have in place, because we seem to be getting put down for not supporting something that we need to be prepared for. And I don't want
feel
that.
put down. My
Why?
thought is, as I said before, if you don't want to
Because
support
we-
this, then create something that you're comfortable with so that the town is supported.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
John? Might we consider the uniqueness of our town of Sterling? Other towns, we're so grateful for our fire department. There, we have an
Yes.
emergency
If it
crew
rains.
in place.
Mhm.
Other towns around us have medical facilities and doctors
Right.
and
And
pharmacies,
I'm trying to
hospitals.
formulate all of this, you know, and come up with.
But we're unique in that we don't have a whole lot of
Mhm.
things
We do have a
in
lot of
place.
nurses though, like you said.
Yes, and that's,
I bet about a dozen.
No, 7.
How many?
7.
Oh, I can think of one now.
good.
Good luck.
Yes, I
Gone
can.
through the roster.
And we're fortunate to have quite a few of them come to our Thursday night
That's
meetings.
great.
Although I don't know how well supplied they are to do something.
Yeah, and you know,
Something
some of
to
these I may be thinking about, well, I'd say most of them could still practice. I still come up with more than 7.
Well, we're talking registered nurses
Yeah.
as opposed to certified nursing assistants. There's a big difference in training.
I understand that. But I'm thinking there's even more the ones I'm thinking are registered nurses in our whole area, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I don't know, is there a way we can put this in this open in the budget and then disperse it as we feel needed? Rather than doing it all at once?
I thought the attorney said that it would be better to just do one check than to do the monthly thing, was my understanding. Maybe I don't remember right, but. I still-
You guys can do it how you want. You can either approve it in the budget, or you can table it, and that way you don't have to have another public hearing or anything. You can just table it till you get your more information. That's up to you guys.
You have a comment?
Yes, I'm a registered nurse.
Good job. See, and I wasn't even counting you.
I have to replace 5,500 tons full of medical supplies.
Okay. That's fine. Like I say, that's neither here nor there, but I had come up with more than 7 in the
Am I
area.
gonna be selfish and say, no, my neighbor, I don't think that person deserves it? Or do I say, yeah, where is the community? Do I come in as a community member and be a good citizen and use my skills and supplies? A couple of years ago, might have been 3 years ago, I was coming up to the stop sign on the other side of the bridge here. A garbage truck hit a bright red Cadillac. You remember that?
Kind of, yeah.
Well, guess who was there first?
You?
What happens if I says, now,
No?
I'm not gonna go there because the liability is too heavy for me driving that car without me.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway.
So,
I would really like to get some more information so that we can do this with a really heartfelt decision.
And I'm, like I said, I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna sit here and keep fighting the town council.
Well, we're not fighting, and well, I don't use the word fight by
I
any means.
apologize for the terminology. I'm just simply saying, at this point, I feel like it's a battle, and I don't want it to be a battle.
It's not a battle. It's
So-
something we agreed on to begin with, but I still want some more information.
What type of information do you feel you're lacking, if I may inquire?
I just want to know what some other towns are doing as far as, being told that, we're using taxpayers' money and stuff. I want some feelings from the other towns.
Why?
Why?
Yes?
I feel like we make a better decision that way.
Can I ask if the rest of the town council feels that way, or
Yeah, I
if
guess
we're, if it's
we need
just,
some input from them.
I mean, I think we made the
This is
decision
my
in
input.
February, so I think that we ought to just go with what we had originally said, but. And I know on the Utah Code, it talks about with towns that we shouldn't always go on what is then around us happening. It should be what pertains to our town and what our town needs. And I don't think that we could financially even do any better than that, what's already there, if you're even at $1,200 for what.
Yeah, and I'm not really getting at that. I'm just getting at the point that our other towns doing it. That's all I'm getting at. I understand and feel compassionate about reasons.
But what, I'm not sure I understand why it would matter what other towns do, because, I mean, it's required by law that we all have our own preparedness for each town. This just works for us, or it doesn't, but that's all I just kind of.
I have a
that's why I would
question.
Table it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Mhm.
How can we help you to get more information? I personally would like you to feel good about this and not have it closed with anybody still having questions. How might we help?
Well, I just,
In
like I
getting
asked
more
you,
information.
does any of the other towns have emergency committees?
Yes.
yes,
Okay,
all over.
all over?
All over. I mean, this is something that was state and federally mandated, and people took action.
Mhm.
This is not something that's,
Right.
was just, I think that even if we want to go that way, the government did recognize that this is an issue, and they recognize that there should be some liability for each town to be responsible for their communities. And I think that that's why these were put in place. And I gave, like I said, I gave paperwork to you guys back in July when I stepped down and did it as a personal citizen, just so that you guys would be able to see and know what they have. But
Shane, was it July, or was it not early on in the year when you sent out flyers to the community saying, what can each of you individually do to help?
And that's when we first started.
that was back in
Bolster.
February, yeah.
And it wasn't anything poking into people's business as far as what do you have? It was
No, and I'm not
what
saying
can you
that.
contribute in
In
ways of
emergencies,
service?
yeah.
It wasn't the first of the year, or was it July?
No, it was, Yvonne's correct, it was back in February when we first
Yeah,
started.
it was, more the first of the year,
Yeah,
when you came to me.
right, we put that together, yeah. So,
And maybe that's as important in coming together as a community, pooling our services and our talents. Pooling our services and talents versus, I'm saying that might be just as important, if not more important than money. However, there's a lot we can do with money that we need.
well, again, we originally agreed to this back in February, it's now November, and we're still trying to make it work, so.
And I'm wondering how many more fundraisers can we have in a year? It takes a lot of time and
It
energy.
does, it takes a lot of time and energy. I mean, we're not trying to count solely on the town, we've obviously done several things to try and,
Well, you came to us and we spearheaded you along, basically, so.
and I appreciate that. And I do appreciate, we appreciate the use of the building, we appreciate the things that you have done to help to this point, so.
Kendall, you got anything on this? You
I'm
want to say?
torn,
Huh?
I'm torn. We've been approached for different things and we've said no and so
We did say yes on this.
Didn't we do
We
Tamantai
did say
I'm
High?
yes.
still sitting on the fence, trying to decide.
Didn't we donate to Manti High or something that you had us donate something or for the Sandy
The only
County
thing we
Fair?
did for Manti High, we didn't do with, like we have done in the past.
Yeah, you just did a smaller.
The banners and everything, we did a temple booster for the paper, basically. We advertised in the paper, was what I'm doing.
I'm curious, because I know Stacy brought up something about, and maybe others brought up, Nick or somebody, about other nonprofit organizations and where does it stop? I can tell you that what we're doing here is focused on Sterling. So while there are other nonprofit organizations, food banks and things like that, which I do think are important and critical, this one in particular's focus is for Sterling.
Got any more? Yvonne?
No,
Tammy?
No.
Anybody else?
no. I'll second the motion that Tammy made.
Could she repeat the
All in
motion?
favor?
She made a motion, yes.
No, could she repeat it?
I
Oh,
made a
do you want
motion
her
to
to repeat
reopen
it?
the budget for the 18,936 for the ARPA that were given by the federal government, and to do the $1,200 for donation to the prep squad. That was my motion.
Renee seconded it,
Mm-hmm.
and Kendall,
I'm gonna say nay.
okay. 2 nay and 2 for.
So we're tied, I guess.
Okay, so Tammy was yes, and Yvonne was yes? Because you
Restate
seconded,
your
you
motion
seconded
for
the
the
motion.
18,000 and we'll table this other and have another hearing.
to have another public hearing. You can have additional comment at the next meeting and make your decision then.
Okay. That's fine, we'll do that.
Because there's no tiebreaker here, Justin's not here. So the two, they were nay and we were.
Okay.
So we'll have to do it at the next meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you for hearing us out today, I appreciate that.
Okay, cemetery committee. And approval of payment for the cemetery sprinkling system.
You got that right, Stacy?
No,
No, we
went through
couldn't
the
find it
meter
in
box.
there.
She pulled them out.
I just pulled
Was it
them
in
out just before we.
I swear. I
Is
put
it in an envelope?
No.
Cause she pulled them out and I told her to look for it and there was some random invoice for, solar.
It's in an envelope.
No, it's not an envelope. But I have a copy of it still.
Well, just give us the copy then.
Okay, 'cause I swear, I put it in this morning.
Do you want me to see if it's stuck in there somewhere? You want?
It might be, because I don't think it went all the way through the, stage.
Maybe we should look up in the tunnel.
So I don't know where that came from.
Nope, not mine, I got mine. You missing the mouse adapter? You missing the mouse adapter?
Okay, so we had our meeting.
Is this mine or is this just?
No, that's.
Oh. Sorry.
Heather, it's not there. I don't know, but Yvonne looked for it because I thought it was supposed to be in there, so.
Was it stuck up there?
Can I make a copy?
You can just have that.
Do you want it for your records?
I have one.
She's got it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I put this little pamphlet together, so, to go over what the cemetery committee has discussed and voted to approach the town board about. The first picture is the 10 trees that have arrived at my house this week and that I planted today in planters till we're ready to put them down at the cemetery. Those are the white fir that we'll be putting down. At no cost to the town. That was all me. So we'll have to sit with the committee and decide where is best to put them once we get figured out exactly where all the water lines are for the culinary water that's down there and the irrigation water that's down there as well. And then,
Scott may have that.
yeah, either Scott or Kurt does,
Kurt,
I'm sure.
okay.
The town cemetery rules is what we, as the committee, put together and would like the town to read over and approve so that a sign can be made and posted at the cemetery shortly, sooner than later. Do you want me to read through them, or are you guys good with what we have decided as far as that goes? How do you want to do that?
I'm good with what you decided.
Okay.
What about you guys?
We're good, we were there.
We were there.
Okay, so we're good to get this sign ordered and
Does Kendall have any
correct? Correct. Kendall, do you have any questions on it?
I'm having a hard time reading.
Oh, do you want glasses?
Give back his glasses.
We got the community glasses.
Go ahead and read that, and then we'll come back to that in a second. The next one is the aisle markers. You will find the design that we have chosen, the prices from 6 different lumber suppliers in the community. The cheapest one was Home Depot, excluding, you know, I don't know, does the town have an account with Home Depot? I know we have one with Herman's in the Newburgh, correct? And they do have them.
Do Hermanson have these posts?
Yep. I called and talked to them to verify that today.
But they're cheaper at Home Depot?
By how much, Heather?
So at Hermanson's, they were $19.99 a board. And at Home Depot, they were $13.18 a board.
Use the charge card.
Yes?
By 270, 240 difference.
Yeah,
And that's the difference.
that's a heck of a difference.
Do we get a tax rate there for the town? She has plus tax, so I was just wondering, because if the town was to buy them, would that be tax exempt?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then I would.
Yeah, and we just have to get a TC 21. Or, yeah.
Yeah, the TC 721, I can get you guys have one of those filled out already?
Yep, we've got one already filled out.
Cool. So are we good on that then to go to Home Depot and get those? Yay? Okay. Yes?
I'm good.
Okay.
They're asked on you get on that.
Yes.
Okay, also in that same section is the solar lights through Amazon to go on the tops of the posts for a total of $179.94.
Can you go through Amazon with the tax exempt, or is that a pain in the butt?
I don't know. Yvonne, how does the town do it through Amazon? Is it tax exempt or not?
Yes.
Okay. So
Do you just have to give the number on Amazon, or do you have an account?
Yeah, well, when I set that account up.
So you have an Amazon, oh, perfect.
okay, so are we good with those?
Yes.
Heather, is that what was in the Dropbox? Did you put the wrong thing in the
I
envelope?
probably did. I told you, it's been a crazy week.
I told you you were sticking myself.
Okay, my bad. So yes, I did put it in the box. That is not it. I should have just stayed with this. I'm telling
I
you.
thought, oh, okay, what's this?
Right?
Something new.
The next picture is of the chain to go between the aisle markers to keep people from parking on the grass. It's $1.89 a foot through Hermanson's. I can check at Home Depot, but the person
So
I
how would you?
it would just link.
Just, yeah.
From post to post, right?
Post to post, what do you think?
And it would be hooked with
From
Isaac
the
on
post
the,
you don't put it.
yeah, and with the carabiners so that it can be dropped, so we don't need to get the dozer or whatever back there to dig a hole.
Could we see that picture
Well, in the
over in this
lawnmowers.
direction?
Oh, sorry, which, what?
So forth
The,
and so
what you're,
on.
got there.
It's
And it
chain.
Lawnmowers.
goes from pole to pole
Uh-huh.
to divide the road from the,
Yeah, because right now we are having a really big problem of people parking on the grass and putting big ruts in the grass, which is gonna cost us more in the long run to bring in more dirt, more grass seed.
And if they run over the new boxes,
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
then
gonna
there's
be
new
expensive.
irrigation boxes.
we have brand new sprinkler
Curb
boxes.
and gutter.
Let's not go quite.
I know,
But
that's
yes,
why I
this
say
is
it's
a
either
cheaper
that or
version
curb and
of-
gutter.
We'll take
Perfect.
donation in bricks.
We'll take the change.
Okay, so are we good on this?
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Then, the next picture is of the dog spot, or big, what is that called? Bag spot for the dog. People walk their dogs down there. They need to be responsible for cleaning that up. The next picture is how it comes, the components, whatever, and how, you know,
What about if you put a no dog allowed?
in the things, it says you can have dogs in there, but you are responsible to clean up after them. So I don't know about you, but I really don't want dog poop in my car, so it's nice to supply.
There should be no dog allowed, there's no need for that, they can take their dog somewhere.
Well, there has to be dogs for blind people.
Yeah, you can't just.
There are some exceptions.
Yeah, you have to be able to accommodate any dog, any service animal, whatever.
We're such a small town, people use that for walking and stuff like that. We're just trying to not put a square peg in a round hole too many times. We're trying to open it up and just make people be responsible for their animals, and so that they're not being told no, but yes, if you will please take care of it, is kind of our thought.
Well, and not only that, but when people go down there to pay their respects to their family members that are in that cemetery, the last thing you want them to do is to be walking to the dog park. It gets all over your shoes, and then you get in the car, and then it's all over that. So if we make them responsible, and you give them an option to be responsible and a place to put it, then people are more likely to be responsible and clean up after their animals. Yes?
We would hope.
Well, that is what I'm offering.
Would it be readily seen? People could.
Yep, we're gonna order two.
Yeah.
One, they would be placed at strategic spots at the top and at the bottom of the cemetery. So, you know, if they walk in, they can grab a badge and throw it in the next one on the way out.
Has this been a problem in the recent past where people were not responsible?
I spend a lot of time in that cemetery, and I am constantly watching for.
Really, is that bad? Wow.
Well, and you got stray dogs too, so, you know, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but
Right.
those that use the cemetery, the road, as their walkway, myself included, if I was to bring my dogs, if I forget my dog's poop bags at home, it would be nice to know that there is something available down there. In the spring, I will ask the town again to buy 2 more for the park. Because people bring their dogs, you know.
And to follow up the town funds, putting the bags in and everything else.
Well, it comes with 1,100 bags, so I don't know per container. I don't honestly know how often we would have to buy one.